From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your MTN News this Tuesday. I'm Augusta McDonnell. Jason Stiff has our forecast in just a few minutes, but first let's get right to our top story. At the Capitol, the Montana House endorsed a bill that would criminalize the use of real and digitally fabricated sexually explicit images as a form of blackmail. According to the FBI, law enforcement agencies have seen an increase in sextortion cases in recent years. These crimes often involve a scammer pretending to want a relationship and then getting a victim to send them sexually explicit images. The scammer then blackmails the individual with those images. 16-year-old Waylon Sheffer is one of the many in Montana victimized by this crime. He ultimately committed suicide in December of 2022. House Bill 514 from Democrat Jill Conower of East Helena would update Montana's privacy and communications law to include protections against others using real, digital, or AI-created images against someone. The bill passed second reading with overwhelming support, with no representatives voting against it. Gender identity is a big topic of discussion as well at the 69th session. Over the last couple months, we've heard about proposed bills dealing with transgender athletes, tying bathrooms to biological sex, and criminalizing transgender medical treatments for people under the age of 16. On Monday, senators debated yet another bill that would affect transgender youth. MTN's Ali Kaiser reports.
Montana senators debated a bill that would require schools to inform parents if their child makes a comment about questioning their gender identity. Supporters of the bill say it's the parent's fundamental right to know, while opponents of the bill say that it could be a risk to some children.
Parents deserve transparency about what is taught to their children and the ability to shield their child. Parents also have the right to be informed about what's going on and involved with any issue affecting their child's academic performance and their mental or physical health.
Republican Senator John Fuller of Kalispell introduced Senate Bill 299, which aims to revise laws related to enhancing transparency in education. It would require a school district board of trustees to create a policy that would give parents access to all information about their child. This includes comments and discussions involving their gender identity or requests to be treated as the opposite sex.
Schools and learning institutions should be a safe environment for all young people. For many young people, it's a refuge when they don't always feel safe at home.
Parents would also need to provide written consent to a school before the child is able to go by a pronoun that does not align with the child's sex. Schools would need to notify parents and get their consent 5 days before giving instruction or presentations that would study, explore, or inform students about gender roles or stereotypes, gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation.
This is excellent legislation to bring our parents more involved with their child's education.
LGBTQ youth is not being respected, and they are overwhelmingly being thrown out of their homes when they're not being respected in this way.
Senate Bill 299 passed with a 31-19 vote. In Helena, I'm Ali Kaiser, MTN News.
A bill that would remove the sunset date on Montana's Medicaid expansion program has passed the legislature and could soon be on its way to the governor's desk. But that does not mean lawmakers are done discussing Medicaid expansion. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian takes us inside some of the remaining questions about this program.
Medicaid expansion was expected to be a major topic of discussion throughout this year's legislative session. But House Bill 245, which renews the expansion program, passed a final vote in the Senate last week, well before the session's halfway point.
I think it's nice to get it done before transmittal and to know that there were enough representatives and senators that understood the benefits that the program's providing to our citizens and to our businesses.
During the legislative debates over Medicaid expansion, those opposed to an extension often argued the federal government is likely to cut back its financial support for the program, and that could force the legislature to return for a special session. Republican Representative Ed Buttry, who sponsored HB 245, said if that does happen, it's worth returning to Helena to debate the way forward. But he says the legislature has to plan for the way the law currently is.
And I'm not so sure it's going to be as easy as some of these folks may think, to have Congress have to go back to their states and say, look, we're either going to knock a whole lot of people, low-income working folks off of coverage, or we're going to have to tax our taxpayers even more to continue the program. I'm not so sure that that's going to be as easy as people would think.
Members of Montana's congressional delegation were in Helena last week to address the legislature. I asked Representatives Ryan Zinke and Troy Downing to comment about the possibility of cuts to federal support for Medicaid expansion. Zinke said when it comes to big programs like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, he believes the federal government can find significant savings just by improving efficiencies.
Enough's enough. So on the savings side, I think we all should agree, let's look at eliminating the fraud, waste, and abuse.
Downing said he's been frustrated that federal authorities haven't let Montana implement work requirements, but that Medicaid remains a lifeblood for the state, especially in rural communities.
What happens on the federal side remains to be seen. We'll see what that committee work looks like, but I will tell you that I will advocate to make sure that we're still supporting what we need in Montana.
And there are still more bills moving through the process that would further adjust the Medicaid expansion program. On Monday, the House gave initial approval to a bill that would require people on expansion to follow the community engagement requirements through the age of 62 instead of 55. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
And taking a live view of our state capital, you can see in the background right there, the clouds starting to part, a little bit more sunshine over Helena, currently 39 degrees. Had some trace amounts of rain and snow earlier. Then we head to Missoula. Right now, the warm spot in Montana. A lot of clouds though, but things fairly dry right now, currently 40 degrees. It's a little bit cooler in Butte. We have a lot of clouds overhead, 34 degrees, but it has risen 5 degrees in the last hour. We have some more shadows visible around the Bozeman area, partly to mostly cloudy sky, but not very warm. Temperature's been pretty steady. 33 degrees right now with the traffic going fairly nicely along the routes near MSU's campus. Then we head to Billings. Right now, a lot of clouds and 31. Our 7-day forecast in a few minutes.
In today's leading look, Billings police have identified a 4-hour standoff at a downtown Billings apartment building yesterday. 64-year-old David Dwelly was arrested on suspicion of aggravated assault, obstructing a peace officer, resisting arrest, and felony criminal mischief after police responded to an apartment at the Prairie Tower on North 25th Street. The building's first 2 floors were evacuated during the incident. The conditions of 2 people assaulted are unknown. And the Montana Highway Patrol and Salvation Army are partnering up to help travelers who might find themselves stranded due to the state's winter weather. The new program allows troopers to hand out $150 vouchers for towing, lodging, or fuel if they find someone or a family in need of help. The program launched in eastern and southwest Montana yesterday, including in Billings, Butte, and Bozeman. In Billings, the state wrapped up its case in the deliberate homicide trial of a stepfather yesterday. Christopher Harris-Sumchek of Billings is accused of beating and drowning his young stepson in extremely hot water in October of 2021. While the court is resuming this trial tomorrow, MTN's Charlie Kleps was inside the courtroom on Monday as the defense started its case.
6 days in.
You indicated earlier today, though, that you found out he died while you were still in the yard. Do you remember that?
Witnesses continue to be questioned.
How common are cameras like that in the homes that you've searched?
As the trial surrounding defendant Christopher Harris-Sumchek continued all day Monday.
By that time, we knew that Jackson had been declared deceased.
Harris-Sumchek is facing charges of deliberate homicide after allegedly drowning his 4-year-old stepson, Jackson Gatlin, in a bathtub full of extremely hot water in October of 2021. He's also charged with assaulting the boy's older brother.
Now, the state just got done telling you that Chris possibly drowned Jax.
On Monday, the state rested its case, and the defendant delivered its opening statements.
What this case is truly about is a blended family, general denial, and the partner family member assault card.
They claim that Harris-Sumchek did not drown the boy, arguing that other medical ailments led to his death.
Having a kid that is autistic can be extremely difficult. It's not like your average child.
The medical examiner's report indicated several possible factors for the little boy's death, noting brain swelling caused by possible drowning, hypothermia, and blunt force head trauma. Possibilities also emphasized by the defense's first witness, a pediatric specialist named Stephen Gurton.
He had bruising and marks. some of which are innocent, and he had bruising and marks, which to me indicate that at least at some point he had been slapped.
The trial is expected to wrap up Wednesday, with Harrison-Check facing up to life in prison if convicted of deliberate homicide. In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
The Missoula and Kalispell Social Security Administration offices could join the growing list of federal services being cut. MTN's Caroline Weiss digs into these details.
Both the Missoula and Kalispell Social Security offices could be slated for closure, as indicated by posts on the Department of Government Efficiency website. The DOGE website states that, quote, termination details are still being finalized, and that notifications have been sent out for each office. MTN reached out to the Social Security Administration specifically about Montana offices, but they did not directly confirm if they will close. A spokesperson said, quote, we are working with GSA to review our leases and ensure they are used efficiently. Most of the leases we are not renewing are for small, remote hearing sites that are co-located with other federal space. As the majority of our hearings are held virtually, we no longer need as many in-person hearing locations. In fact, in FY24, 20% of these offices held no in-person hearings. Other offices are non-public facing, being consolidated into nearby locations, or we had planned to close. Social Security continuously monitors and evaluates the use of our office space to maximize efficiency for the American taxpayer. If the Missoula and Kalispell offices are closed, the next closest Social Security offices would be Helena or Butte. MTN will continue to follow this story as updates become available. In Missoula, Caroline Weiss, MTN News.